This is my segue.
Dead
Let's
objects. The fruit?
talk. Well, like red
Dude, might
aliens in
fruit?
Dragon Ball Z. Sure, yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So let's get into our first news segment, and that is celebrities, but more specifically, the recent appearance of Sexyy Red in NXT. And she made her appearance on May 28th. And honestly, I saw the clips because I didn't watch it live, but I saw like all the clips with Sexy Red and stuff. First of all, congratulations to the women in NXT for getting a mid-tier championship. I think that's awesome and well deserved. And again, I feel like that's kind of like a sign of things to come for the main roster because I know in the NXT realm you have a mid tier championship, but at that point, if Shawn Michaels decides that they have a mid tier championship, I don't see why Triple H wouldn't be also thinking the same thing, or they didn't already have in plan a mid tier title for the women on the main roster for Raw and SmackDown. Now, I'm thinking I don't know how they could do this, and I've seen some people debate like, oh, on one roster they'll have the tag titles for the women, and then on the other roster they'll have the mid-tier title. So basically, you'll have like a set on each, and basically whoever's the champion of those two will just kind of like go between, and then whatever they decide is a rivalry will be, that's what it is. What do you guys think about that? Do you feel like it should be two sets of tag titles and two sets of mid-tier titles, or how do you guys view like a potential mid-tier women's championship on the main roster? How do you feel about that?
I think each show could get one if the guys have one.
Right.
Uh, Tag team, I don't know.
Yes.
Tag team, I feel, can get hairy just because it's just like, okay, well, do we have enough people
It's a lot of
to make these?
programming.
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff to just like moving pieces. Who's got to be where? Because you're taking two people or four potentially to feud, and then you have all these singles matches and shit. So I don't know.
Right. I mean, like for me personally, I also agree with that. I mean, and that's why I was also hesitant to split the tag titles for the men's because like they have their sets of tag teams, but I mean, like I feel like that's still only like four, maybe five. And I mean, how many times are you going to be feuding with the same people, year round throughout the year? You know what I mean? I guess you can like take like those five tag teams and then like extend the rivalry, kind of go like an on and off, like okay, I'm done with you, and then I'm going back with you, and that'll last the year. But in terms of longevity for both sides of the brand, I don't know if you have enough tag teams for that. And that's why I was having an issue with them splitting the tag titles for the men initially. So for me personally, when it comes to the women's tag titles, I think I would leave them as is because again, like women's tag teams, like how many can you name, on both of your hands that are, women's tag teams that are viable and they weren't just thrown together like, okay, you were just happened to be together like kind of like, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Although like now that they've been there long enough, it feels like an established team kind of.
I
Like
think
sometimes
they
it feels like singles wrestler and manager and sometimes they're a tag team, you know what I mean? So with that, I will just leave by itself. I feel like for the women's mid-tier titles, I think at for mid-tier titles like a United States and an IC, I feel like you could do two. I feel like you could do one for one brand and one for the other because there is like for singles, like there everyone can technically be a singles wrestler on both Raw and SmackDown for the women's roster, and their roster is very deep, you know.
yeah.
So I feel like they could like announce. I mean, I wouldn't even know what you'd call it. Maybe you could just call it the women's IC in United States because I don't know what else you'd call it. If NXT already
European
has North
Championship.
American, but what does that mean though? If a majority of
EBS,
your shows
USA,
in the United
Fox,
States, you know,
the TV champ and the YouTube champ.
I mean, I guess you could do TV champ like the Netflix champion, the
God.
Netflix champion. So like for me personally, I still feel like a TV, like the name of a channel belt sounds weird personally. Like
It does.
TBS, TNT, whatever it is. Like at least with ECW, it was just called TV title, right?
Yeah, same with
So
WCW.
like just call it like TBS. I don't know. It just feels so bizarre. Like it kind of sucks you out from the competition and WWE portion, and you're like, oh, you're part of a channel. You're a champion of a channel, which it just seems weird from a marketing standpoint, but also just from I don't know a perception standpoint. So I'm not a fan of like a channel name championship, but
They need to make like a complete weirdo of the TNT champ, just like
yeah,
somebody that TNT's like, oh, can we get this off him?
yeah.
That'd be
But
hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, like I made this entire side tangent about like mid-tier titles, but let's go back to the what happened this past NXT, or at least on the May 28th episode of NXT with Sexyy Red showing up, shaking her ass, hands on your knees, get it sexy, and basically showing off the North American Championship and also announcing that she is the host of NXT Battleground. Throughout the show, obviously Booker T was super excited about Sexyy Red's presence, and the commentator was making, or the on his podcast, he was making jokes about him making sure he took his blood pressure medication because maybe his heart rate is going too up from from her performance on the show.
He just took that blue
And
chew.
yeah, exactly. Speaking of, brought to you by Blue Chew. Actually, we're not brought to you by Blue Chew, but um, yeah. So she is a fan of wrestling.
Grabbing the
She
rocket to it, man.
you don't know how many wrestling podcasts I've seen that they have Blue Chew and how many variations of penis related jokes they had, or
It's inevitable.
things to sell the blue pill.
Thanos. I'm inevitable.
So, I mean, like Sexy Red showed up, like she got a big pop from the NXT crowd. I know like, she was getting flack. I mean, she gets flack as a rapper in general. Like people give her crap, and also, I mean, this is anytime I feel like a celebrity shows up, there will always be people who are complaining about this person showing up. And again, I feel like it's warranted depending on the person who shows up because and this is what I kind of want to dive into more with this specific segment is celebrities in wrestling. Because you could have people like Sexy Red, who is a fan of wrestling, and she's super into it. Like you saw her if you watched the NXT episode, she was super into it. She
Yeah,
was
she has
doing
a
her
good
thing. Yeah. And she announced the belt. She was really good with like timing, and when it came to like interacting with wrestlers, it wasn't like sloppy or stupid. Like she understood what she had to do there. And it's going to be interesting to see her at Battleground. But she also is a fan of Trick Williams. I think that's kind of where it sparked the interest. And she also did a cameo with Shawn Michaels on X, and they were singing Shawn Michaels' theme song. I don't know if it was in a car or whatever they were in, but it was cute. Like some people say it was cringy or whatever, but I thought it was cute. Like it was great.
We were
So
about to see 97, Sean.
yeah, yeah, you are. Yeah, you're right to be Shawn Michaels 1997 in that specific segment on X, but
Busting out the perks.
honestly, it's really cool. And I'm also of the mindset of like if you could get a big celebrity that you get like more eyeballs on your product, more power to you, especially since you're coming to CW in the fall and you have celebrities like this person who actually likes the product. Chris, who is the person when they were doing the like the celebrity GMs and stuff, and he called it Super Slam? Do you remember what I'm talking about? He was with the guy from oh god damn. Like this is I'm drawing a blank.
Might be a
Super
Google
bad.
moment.
He was in Super bad.
McLovin? No. Or
No,
Jonah Hill? No.
no, he was with The Asian actor, I forgot his name.
God, I forgot his name.
But he was
Mr.
there
Kim?
with
Oh,
huh?
I don't
Did
know.
you say Mr. Kim?
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember. So, but he was with that other actor, and he was clearly there just because he had a contract obligation, and he called SummerSlam Super Slam
I mean,
on the microphone.
there were so many moments like that though during that time period. Like that was like I feel that was like 5 years of just bullshit of like that every time. Guest
Oh, it was like a
appearance.
year. It was like a year and a half. It felt like 5 years,
It
but it was
felt
like a
like
year and a
forever.
half. It was like first it was McMahon's $1 million Mania, and it was like 2007. And given like this is when me and Chris started getting back into wrestling, so it was like 2006. DX reunion, Radar Superstar, and he had the feud with John Cena, and you had all these kind of things, and then you had, the CM Punk Championship, you had the Benoit Murder Homicide, you had,
Whoa.
you had like so many things in between, right? And then like right after that, you had Vince McMahon exploding in his limousine, and then right after that, you had Umaga, and then you had McMahon's $1 million Mania, and then 2008, 9, you had the celebrity GMs
Pee
basically.
Wee
So
Herman.
you had the anonymous general manager. It might have been like even 2010 or 2011. Jesus. But you had the anonymous general manager, and then you had like the celebrity GMs, and you had Ozzy Osbourne. You had Bob Barker, which was okay. Bob Barker was actually pretty good because he had this whole thing with Chris Jericho, and they were wearing like the Best Buy designed like labels, like the name tags that they put on Price is Right.
Yeah.
And he was talking about like how he would like bend him over his knee and smack him, but he as like an 80-year-old man. Like that was actually funny. So like that kind of stuff is funny. Like Betty White was funny. Like she went on the microphone. She's like, "I'm gonna kick your ass" or whatever. Like that was funny. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't, as a concept, do it myself, like the whole celebrity thing, but you had people who were genuine, like either into it and they weren't fans of wrestling, or they were super fans of wrestling and they understood the assignment. But there were people who, you know, did not care. They were just kind of there because it was an obligation
When
based
did
on their
they when did
manager.
they start doing the Hall of Fame itself? When did they start doing that?
I mean, it was on and off. So initially, it started in like 1992 or three, in the early 90s. I'm pretty sure they inducted like Andre the Giant. He was like one of the
Yeah.
first ones who was inducted, and then they also did it like it was like early 90s, mid 90s, and then there was like a big gap in between, and then they brought it back in like the mid 2000s because I know like Hulk Hogan got inducted in those early iterations, and
Drew Carey, baby.
and
Boo.
oh my God, what's his name? Jesus Christ. Well, there were a bunch of people that were inducted early, so it was basically like early
That's the,
'90s break, 2000s, late 2000s, and then they just kept going since then. Like Bret Hart was 2006, Roddy Piper was like 2005 or four. And that was also around like when Hulk Hogan was inducted. So basically around that time they brought it back, and then they kept doing it since then. So maybe they were like, oh, we don't have enough legends or people to induct, so they had to wait like a decade or so to bring more people on. But what do you guys feel like? Because it isn't just specifically tied to the celebrity general manager era of the mid 2000s, because celebrities and like the mainstream media has been tied in with at least WWF since the 80s. That's how we got the whole rock and wrestling thing, right? We had
yeah.
the whole Cyndi Lauper, Muhammad Ali,
Mr.
uh,
T.
Mr. T, exactly, like that whole thing. So how do you guys feel
Kid
about
Rock.
celebrities and wrestling, and how do you feel like that ties into wrestling? Do you feel like they have a place? when
Yeah.
when when is it
All
viable, and
cameos. Andy
when is it?
Kaufman was
Yeah,
Jerry
Andy
Lawler, though.
Kaufman. Yeah. You know what? That's a
Like,
that's a great that's a great point. Andy Kaufman is another person that like just understood what wrestling was supposed to be, because that man took wrestling, and he is a character comedian, right? So when he became a wrestler, like he also like took it as like a character study, and he basically like just kind of turned himself into this person, and he ran with it. Like he understood what
Yeah.
wrestling was, and that was fascinating. I mean, this was obviously behind our years, but I watched it. I mean, it was amazing, like what he did with Jerry Lawler, that whole feud. So
Yeah, dog. I played Legends of Wrestling as a kid. That's how I knew about him.
yeah,
Because that didn't happen
did you
on
watch
WWE.
the Jim Carrey biopic of him with Andy Kaufman? I think it was called like Moon Man or something. I don't remember, but I feel like I have to rewatch that because as a kid
Yeah.
I didn't understand it. I just like, oh, Jim Carrey's from The Mask.
This
I
isn't funny.
know I know that like
Yeah,
Jim like around that time if you met Jim Carrey, he's one of those actors that has to like live the whole role.
a method
So like
actor.
yeah, so they had to like like people he'd be like, "Oh, I met Jim Carrey." And then he'd be like, "No, I'm Andy Kaufman."
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess like I just went on this whole huge tangent, but like, give me just your thoughts of like whatever I just said in terms of like celebrities in wrestling. Like, how do you feel? What is their place in wrestling? Like Snooki, like those
I
kinds of people.
I think I think cameos are necessary. I think sometimes they miss, but overall it's just like anything else. There's gonna be some good ones and there's gonna be some bad ones.
Who's your favorite celebrity cameo in wrestling? Like from anything, 90s, 80s, 2000s, pay-per-views, like just on a show, doesn't matter. Like what's your
Rodzilla,
like
bro.
Rod, see, okay, see,
Rodzilla, bro.
WCW.
Yeah.
Like that gave them like huge fucking like views. Like the Bulls were at the top of their game. You
Fucker skip
got Dennis
practice.
Rodman, like in his like he would like talk about someone who was like queer coded or like he just didn't give a shit like how he dressed, what he
Fucking
looked like, and people were giving him shit like he would come in a skirt or whatever, like he had like
crash
his
at
hair
the beach
dyed.
and then he showed up at the NBA finals.
Yeah. Apparently he had his dick pierced. I don't know where I heard that from,
Prince
but
Albert.
yeah, exactly. You got the Prince Albert, but yeah, that's a really good example. And for WCW, that was like a huge like they were riding the wave and the momentum, but that was like kind of like it kept them there in like 97, 98.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really good one. What about your worst one? Like, which one did you hate the most, if you can think of one?
Drew Carey. Nah.
Okay, it's cool. I don't know, to be
Drew
honest.
Carey in the Royal Rumble.
I missed all the years of the cringe ones. So
That's
like
true. There was like a very specific like focus like
missed
area of
those.
celebrities, but they were spread out through like a lot of WrestleMania. Like you had footballs. Was the Fridge guy on WrestleMania 11?
Oh, William
Um,
Perry. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I count that. I mean I have no opinion on him. I mean Mike Tyson, like that's a huge one, right? Mike
No.
Tyson, WrestleMania 14 with Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah, like that was massive. You know. What about you, Chris? What about your favorite celebrity person who's ever showed up
Gotta
on
be
SmackDown?
Arnold.
Arnold in
Arnold.
like 2000 and on SmackDown.
Yeah, like he just showed
What
up.
about you?
But I mean, like he's an actor that does action. So like when he punched Triple H or whatever, and he got on him, like it just looked like he was beating his ass because he can sell that shit. So that's probably my favorite because reasons.
What about
Because he's Arnold. Huh?
worst?
Worst?
Worst.
Pee Wee Herman? Nah. I mean, I feel like there was some weird like CW star or something that was just trying to promote their show and it was just all shitty. I don't know. So, some motherfucker like that. Unnamed actor number 5 or like irrelevant actor.
I'm trying to find because my worst is God, it's that celebrity who says Super Slam, and I forgot what his name is, and that's the annoying
Just
part.
find the
because
movie.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out what the movie was. Um,
Hangover.
Google, who was that asshole that said Super Slam?
I wish we had a producer. It was like, on Joe Rogan. What's his name?
Uh,
It was like Jimmy or something. Uh, all right, hold on. Best, worst. So, okay, so first of all, I'm gonna give you best. So, Walter Payton, actually, if you guys remember in SummerSlam '94, that was a good one. Okay, this is one that I forgot about, but Insane Clown Posse in SummerSlam 1998, like that was
hell
kind of
yeah.
crazy.
I mean, they're
That
wrestlers,
kind of
aren't
like
they?
that was kind of the vibe, right? You know?
Uh,
And like Jesse Ventura showed up as like guest appearances, but I wouldn't count him as like a celebrity. Jon Stewart, I actually thought did really good because he also understood the assignment and it felt like he enjoyed himself.
oh, dude, he
Um,
called Cena beating Flair's record. Fucking dick.
let's
That was cool.
see. Man, why don't they have it on here? This is so annoying. But those are some of like the best ones. Um, God, I forgot what his name was, but whatever the guy was with the guy from Superbad, that was one of my worst because like SummerSlam has been around for almost 30 years at that point when he was talking about it, and when he said that, I'm like, bro, like that is the bare minimum when you get on this show is knowing the freaking show that you're supposed to promote. Like it's not that hard.
Like Krusty the Clown doing a role in a movie or something. He's like, what am I doing?
Yeah, exactly. I
Ah.
mean, like especially like that. It's like someone messing up WrestleMania. You know, like SummerSlam is like WrestleMania for wrestling.
Hulk Hogan
So
said Silverdome, so
He just
yeah,
forgot where he was at.
yeah, exactly.
you
Like
forgot what year it
with
was.
that, yeah, with that, I'm going to give him a break because like wrestlers go into hundreds and hundreds of stadiums and arenas. Like they don't know
Andre's
their
music
left
was
hand from the
about to
right
hit.
hand sometimes because they're consistently on the road. So I'll give him a break. But like a consistent pay-per-view in a wrestling promotion like WWF or SummerSlam is like, come on. Like I'll understand if you're like, oh, you don't remember Great Balls of Fire. You're like, I'll give you a pass if you don't remember that one because that
Friday Night
hit
Dynamite.
later. Yeah, exactly. Or Friday Night Dynamite. You don't know that one, but
Come on, Christopher Daniels.
you know what?
Yeah.
Logan Paul, in terms of recent memories, Logan Paul was initially a celebrity person. Floyd Mayweather is actually another good one that I just
Knock the
remembered.
fuck out of Big Show.
In
Boom.
24. He actually broke his fucking nose. He actually broke his nose. So like Floyd Mayweather is a really good one, and Logan Paul is the most recent example who actually just became a regular roster member, which is amazing. And again, I know he's an asshole and all that kind of stuff, but I can't deny that he's just really good at the whole thing. The promos, the wrestling, how he carries himself, what he does on social media. Like he was basically born to be like a WWE or just a pro wrestler, you know? So
Sports entertainer.
yeah, a sports entertainer. I'll give it to Logan Paul, but yeah, but just kind of going back to Sexyy Red, I have no issue with her doing it, especially like again based on her fandom and what she's been what she talks about, how she talks about wrestling in her social media and stuff. And it'll be interesting to see Battleground, which is I think is like a week or two from this as of this recording.
Next
I'll
week.
Yeah, next week. Yeah, I'll definitely watch that just to see what's gonna happen with that. That'd be kind of funny if they also turn her into like a roster member.
That'd be
I
crazy.
could see that. But yeah, but that's it with that segment. Let's jump in.